Jeffrey Wong is with the City of Oakland. We also have a climate fellow, Nina, here, and we've got lovely information that they've provided and some nice demonstrations they can show afterwards. But take it away.
Thank you so much, Casey, and thank you again for the invitation to be here. Good evening, everyone. Again, my name is Jeffrey Wong. He, him. I'm a sustainability analyst with the City of Oakland, and what that basically means is that my job is to implement our city's amazing 2030 Equitable Climate Action Plan. So just as a quick refresher for folks who might not be familiar with our Climate Action Plan, it's founded on social, racial, and economic equity, and basically tackles the climate crisis on two fronts. First question, what do we do to stop the impacts of climate change? And two, with the climate change impacts that we're already facing, what can we do to adapt to climate change? And what I'll be talking about today is in category one. What can we do to stop climate change, reduce our greenhouse gas emissions from burning fossil fuels down to zero? And I'll preface it by saying that both my presentation and then our friends at Quit Carbon will both be talking about building decarbonization, but my presentation will be primarily focusing on what are the benefits of building decarbonization and what are some of the policies that the city is considering to move us in that direction. And Quit Carbon will be talking about incentives, rebates, what's the roadmap to actually do some of these projects in your own homes.
Will this presentation be available afterwards?
Yes. All right, so first off, why are we even talking about building electrification in the first place? And really, the first and foremost reason is that it's a public health issue. Folks here might not realize, but gas in our homes is a leading contributor to indoor air pollution. In fact, one study has shown that in California, homes that have gas stoves, the children that grow up with them have a childhood asthma case that is increased by up to 20%. So it's a significant driver of indoor air pollution. Another reason that folks might be familiar with, we just experienced an earthquake here not too many days ago, and with it, there's a big risk of those gas lines rupturing and igniting and causing a huge amount of damage from fires and explosions. And so, with PG&E and its aging infrastructure, that's a risk that we're living with every day. And so, and if we wanted to invest, billions of dollars into upgrading it, we can, or it's actually much cheaper to upgrade the grid rather than our gas infrastructure. And so we'll be saving a lot of money on a societal basis if we decide to invest in going all electric. I had mentioned, climate change, this is a big driver for it. Again, carbon dioxide is a powerful global warming potential and is a big contributor to the climate crisis. So again, if we can ramp those down to zero as quickly as possible, that's ultimately the goal for the City of Oakland. And according to our Equitable Climate Action Plan, our goal is to actually electrify all buildings in Oakland, existing, new construction, by 2040. And last but not least, this is also a huge economic opportunity for the City of Oakland as well. People have talked a lot about sort of the green economy, and especially in the trades, whether it be electricians, plumbers, contractors, there's a lot of growth opportunity for the City of Oakland. We're projecting, tens of thousands of jobs potentially for, investing in the trades in our construction and making sure that those are high quality, union, well-paid jobs at a living wage. So, folks here, when I talk about building decarbonization, electrification, you might think, okay, it's, as I just mentioned, it's just about getting fossil fuels out of our homes, switching it to all electric. But we all know that there are so many other things that go inside our home as well, including lots of deferred maintenance. And so what we are trying to do with how our approach to electrification is not just simply talking about switching out one appliance for an all-electric one, but really talk big picture. Does your roof, need an upgrade to it? Is there potential for solar plus batteries to help, offset some of your energy bills? Is there room for additional energy efficiency through weatherization, through insulation? If you have an electric vehicle, is there a way that your electric vehicle is not just drawing power from the grid, but in times of emergency can actually provide power back to your home? These are just some of the considerations that we're thinking about as we talk about building decarbonization and what's kind of the whole building approach to making sure that this is both cost effective and also environmentally friendly as well. All right, so this next couple of slides, I'm just going to walk through very quickly what are some of the most common appliances in people's homes that use gas and what are their all-electric alternatives. So as you can see on the slide, the 4 most common categories are space heating, water heating, cooking, and clothes drying. And so you might be familiar with the typical appliances that you use today in your home, but the all-electric alternative are essentially come in 2 categories. One is a heat pump, which I'll explain what a heat pump is in the next slide, which can be used for both space heating, water heating, and clothes drying. And then for cooking, folks here might be familiar with the electric resistance coils that currently exist in a lot of people's homes, but there's also a newer technology called induction cooking that's actually way more energy efficient and way more powerful than your typical electric resistance coil. All right, so to start off with, what is a heat pump? Well, we actually have an amazing example right here. A refrigerator in your home is a heat pump because it basically moves heat from one area to another. So the way a fridge works is that it takes whatever heat is inside of the fridge, moves that heat out using refrigerants outside, thereby cooling the temperature inside the refrigerator and allowing yourself to preserve food or other supplies for a longer period of time. So a heat pump, basically, it can work in reverse. Just as you can move heat from inside to outside, you can also move heat outside to inside as well. And because of the physical properties of the way it moves heat, it's actually way more energy efficient than even your most efficient gas stove. And it's also, for a lot of homes, especially now, which don't have air conditioning in your home, having a heat pump actually allows you to, for the first time, to have air conditioning. And we know from a lot of the climate projections here in the city of Oakland that that's going to be a growing need for so many of our households. Next is induction cooking. So what's different about induction versus an electric resistance coil is that it actually uses electromagnetism to heat up the plate. And the best way to think about it is that if you think about sort of the molecules in the pan, basically what the magnetic field does is that it vibrates those molecules at really fast speeds, and that movement is what generates basically what we experience as heat. And so using that sort of physical property allows for a much more efficient energy transfer of energy put in through electricity to actually heat and cook your food versus a gas stove, which basically you burn, like the fossil fuel. Then the fossil fuel not only heats up the pan, but it's also heating up all the air around it, and it's actually extremely wasteful. In fact, I think more than half of the heat that you actually use in burning a gas stove actually doesn't actually heat up the actual pan to cook your food. So way more energy inefficient to use gas. And one of the also kind of more practical benefits of having an induction cooktop is that, as you'll see outside, as well as with quick carbon, it's a completely flat, smooth surface, so you don't have to deal with all those grooves in order to cook, clean up afterwards after you cook. And as well, because the induction cooktop is only limited to heating up a metal surface that can conduct a magnetic field, it actually doesn't leave any of the other cooking surface hot as well. So you don't have to risk, burning yourself accidentally if you touch, the cooking surface, or if you have young children, that the only thing that heats up is the pan that's on top of the induction cooktop.
Excuse me.
Yes?
Please comment on electromagnetic radiation emitted by induction cooking.
Sure. Is your question specific for if you're experiencing, or if you have not a defibrillator, but if you have a device in your chest that you're worried about might experience an interference with the electromagnetic radiation, or?
I've read some material that says that induction cooking releases a large amount of electromagnetic radiation.
So the electromagnetic radiation that comes from an induction cooktop doesn't have any health side effects whatsoever. So I can point you to some health research that can demonstrate, those findings. But in the studies that I've seen that's been done by the American Physicians Association, none of those, studies that we've seen have shown any demonstrated impact on people's health. Now, if you do have a, let's say, a device, inside, your heart, for example, to assist, with certain bodily functions, then there might be some considerations that, depending on the induction cooktop you have, it might have some interference with that. But just with the magnetic field itself, none of these induction cooktops that we see that are on the market today for residential settings, they're not powerful enough to be able to have any significant health impacts. And I'm happy to show you more resources afterwards.
Yes, please.
Awesome. Oh, my mistake.
I'll follow.
Great question on the induction cooktops. So what I'm going to be moving to next in the next slide is just kind of what's the sort of the policy timeline landscape, where we've been and where are we heading to now. So back in December of 2020, so just kind of in the middle of the pandemic, the city of Oakland passed an ordinance that basically mandated that all new construction be all electric. So today, if you're building a new home, a new office building, all of it has to be all electric. So what we're really talking about today, around building electrification is about existing buildings, retrofits, and what does it take, to make that switch to an all-electric home. We've been doing a number of different stakeholder workforce engagement series, back in 2021. And in 2023, we reached a really cool milestone where more than 100 jurisdictions in the US have passed some form of an all-electric new construction ordinance. And so, as you can see right now, we're kind of in the middle of still doing a lot of the community engagement outreach, such as here today, to let folks know this is what we're talking about, answer any questions that they may have about what it means to live in an all-electric home. And we're hoping that by next year, 2024, our team is going to be presenting a policy roadmap to City Council about what are the different types of policy mechanisms, what are the different considerations that we need to be taking into account so that by 2040, as written in the 2030 Equitable Climate Action Plan, we're able to achieve 100% all-electric buildings in the city of Oakland. An important milestone that I also want to highlight here for folks is that the Air Quality Management District also passed a set of regulations that basically have a zero nitrous oxide standard for appliances. Nitrous oxide is a component of burning fossil fuels. So in essence, a zero nitrous oxide appliance standard basically is phasing out any gas boiler or any sort of gas water furnace in sort of the Bay Area Air Quality Management District. And so that will take into effect in 2027 for gas water heaters and 2029 for gas boilers. Now, this doesn't impact any existing gas water heaters or boilers in your home. Basically, what will happen in 2027 is that it will ban the sale of any new gas water heaters or any new gas boilers on those dates. So you don't have to worry about anyone coming to take out your gas boilers or water heaters. Whatever is in the existing home, that's perfectly fine. All right, so this will be kind of sort of my wrap-up slide before I hand it over to our friends at Quit Carbon. But basically, the main point is that we're moving, to an all-electric home because the grid is getting cleaner. We're getting more clean, renewable energy every year. Our local utility, the East Bay Community Energy, is on track to that by 2030, everybody will be getting 100% clean, renewable energy, no matter what option plan that you're on. So East Bay Community Energy, BayREN, the Bay Area Regional Energy Network, is also another important regional agency that does a lot of work around energy efficiency. They have a lot of great incentives and rebates that folks can take advantage of on top of state and federal funding. And they also have a home energy advisor program. So in addition to Quit Carbon, there are many sources where you can get free technical assistance on what it would take to electrify your home, no matter what your starting point is. Last but not least, I had mentioned, jobs is one of the big reasons why we're interested in building electrification. And so we're working with different job training centers here in Oakland, like Rising Sun, like the Cypress Mandela Training Center. And we are really intentional about making sure that our BIPOC, Black, Indigenous, people of color, our frontline communities are the ones that are benefiting from these job trainings and being able to take advantage of these well-paid jobs afterwards. And with that, that will conclude my presentation. Thank you so much for listening. I can post my email up later, but you can also visit us at oaklandca.gov/electrify, where you can find all this information online.